Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site. Bettingangle.us, a free site. It is October 3rd, 2022. The Monday night game between the Rams and the 49ers has not yet been played. Let's talk about the NFL after week 4. Just 10 observations for gamblers. The first is that while I consider Aaron Rodgers to be the best quarterback in the game, right? One man's opinion. There clearly is a blueprint on Aaron Rodgers. Understand, his Week 4 game against the New England Patriots and defensive guru Bill Belichick took place in Lambeau, where Aaron Rodgers is spectacular. But yet, against a team, the Patriots, that were missing their starting quarterback, that got their second string quarterback knocked out of the game, and who had to play a significant part of the game with their third string quarterback. The Green Bay offense was shut down to the point where the game went into overtime, and they needed all of that overtime to beat the New England Patriots. Clearly, there's something on film that Bill Belichick is seeing that allows him to be competitive against Aaron Rodgers. Right now, I consider Green Bay to be one of the best futures plays on the board. Right? Very weak division teams like, let's face it, the Chicago Bears are going to have off years. You have a Green Bay team with an excellent defense. You have Aaron Rodgers. But just be aware that there's going to come a time, some big game, late in the season, perhaps in the playoffs, where some team is going to need to slow down Aaron Rodgers and is going to be able to do so. Let me say, too, on that last drive, one of the biggest plays was a pass play to Randall Cobb. Right? In other words, Aaron Rodgers in big moments in games is still looking for his older receivers, right? Guys who are his favorites. He doesn't have chemistry yet with the young receiving corps. The second point I'm going to make is that Baltimore entered the weekend, right? 2 wins, 1 loss. They're now 2-2. But they entered the weekend an underdog at home versus the Bills, who are coming off a loss. Well, I believe Baltimore can compete with anyone. If you got 3 points and the Ravens, you got to push. If you got 3.5, you got to win. Right? Understand, Baltimore was roughing up Buffalo, a team that seems to be a near consensus pick to come out of the AFC this year for some reason. Right? Just understand, Baltimore had that game won, and then Buffalo had to dig deep to come back. Right? The Ravens, who missed the playoffs last year and who are 2-2 as I make this video, can compete with anyone. Right? They're a team you need to watch closely, especially since everyone in their division has at least 2 losses. They're highly competitive. Let's talk about a third point, the Denver Broncos. Now, Denver has this big defensive reputation, don't they? Right? But running backs, as we learned watching Josh Jacobs this week 4, might be able to run right up the middle against them. Right? Denver, great pass rush on the edges. The problem might be right up the middle. Take a look at that box score. Folks, they did not stop Josh Jacobs. Many of his runs were right up the middle. Let's talk about point 4. The Philadelphia Eagles are no longer a futures bargain. In fact, they might be a bit too expensive right now in the market. Right? Don't get me wrong. They have a lot of talent. Jalen Hurts clearly has been underestimated. Right? But this Eagle team looked vulnerable last year in the playoffs, didn't they? And now the price is high. Now we're looking at a team like this and we're pricing them as if they're the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, or if they're Green Bay, right? A team with Aaron Rodgers, a multiple MVP winner, right? Jalen Hurts, as far as I know, has yet to win an MVP. Right, but I will say this, even though the futures price now is a bit rich, and don't get me wrong, I have a piece of the action because I've looked at the Eagles and I'm thinking, whoa, things are coming together. Right, but this is somewhat new with this group. Right, no one expected them to do much in the playoffs last year. What a difference a few months make. The one thing I will say, though, is they are the best team in the NFC East. Right? The Giants couldn't pass the football yesterday. Zeke Elliott is no longer explosive. I just don't see the competition in the NFC East. I'm not even going to mention the Commanders. You know they're not competitive with Philly. So you're talking about a Philadelphia team that if it stays healthy, right, will be in the playoffs. They have the jump on everyone right now because they're unbeaten. Right? If they have a high seed, given that they play in cold weather, where a lot of teams are going to fold up, they're a dangerous team. Right? If you don't have a futures position with them right now, expect to pay an arm and a leg for one. Let's get to point 5. Kenny Pickett. I know there's a lot of hype, but he might not be Dan Marino out the gate. Right? We forget Marino stepped into this league and did very well. He followed that up, I believe his second or third year, by passing for more than 5,000 yards and getting the Dolphins into the Super Bowl. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans have a decent quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. It's fashionable to diss Mitch. That's just the reality. Right? Kenny Pickett looked great against some preseason units. Right? And everyone's screaming for it. He's the better storyline. Well, he entered the game yesterday through 2 picks before throwing pick number 3 on the Hail Mary. Folks, yesterday's game was a winnable game. I do wonder whether they would have won it had they kept Mitch Trubisky on the field. Point 6. Now, my dad was a hardcore New York Jets fan. Right? I was raised watching Richard Todd, Marvin Barnes, if you remember, Marvin Powell, if you remember these guys, Joe Klecko, Mark Gastineau, right? I'm from a Jet family. My dad kept talking about people like Joe Namath, who's a little before my time, right? I'm from a Jet household. I'm a Giants fan, but I was raised in a Jet household. My dad was the man of the house, not me. He controlled the TV remote, not me, right? I'll pretend that we had a remote in the mid-1970s. Well, let me just say, the Jets are 2-2, but they aren't real. I know draft day, everyone was saying, oh, the Jets had a great draft. Now, of course, they're 2-2, and people are saying, hey, man, 2 great comebacks, right? Folks, Saleh is supposed to be a defensive guru. The Jets won't be relevant until they solve their defensive problems. Understand, they're in a division with the Bills, the Dolphins. Look at Tua's numbers before the concussions, right? And of course, Bill Belichick and the Patriots. That Patriot D just controlled Aaron Rodgers for more than 4 quarters, right? The Jets are 2-2. In my opinion, they're not for real, right? You know my philosophy on making money gambling on football. In addition to weekly bets, you really want to be attuned to the futures market. That's actually where you're going to make most of your money. You want to pick teams that are going to make the playoffs, or at least be in contention week 16 and week 17 so you can do some hedging. You need to figure out who's real and who's not. In this league, you cannot go simply by wins and losses. I know Jet Nation is excited. I know they're 2-2. Right, folks? Tough division, suspect defense, some wins that can only charitably be called last minute. Right? Last minute. You were watching that game yesterday and it was like the 58th minute and you were still hoping for something. Jets aren't real. Point 7. Jacksonville's 2-2. Jacksonville's real. Trevor Lawrence, newsflash, he can play. They might win that division. Keep an eye on the Jags, especially the Jags at home. Point number 8. It's taken Josh McDaniels a while to figure this out. I don't know why, but it has. The Las Vegas Raiders are a lot better when Josh Jacobs gets a lot of carries. Right, folks? That's just the reality. Right? Somehow, and you know how politics works in the real world, I was hearing that Josh Jacobs was persona non grata with the Las Vegas Raiders. Right? The Raiders, for some reason, aren't that excited about the guy who carried them yesterday. Look at that box score. Point number 9. When in doubt, take the over on Detroit Lion games. Folks, let me just put it to you this way. The Lions can't stop some college teams on defense, right? The Lions have no defense. That's how it looks to me. Right? They compensate for that by being wide open on offense. The Lions have some offensive weapons. Expect the scoreboard to light up. Point number 10. 45-year-old Tom Brady is still a top 5 quarterback. I finally figured out after watching Tom Brady for years who can stop him. And the answer is his wife. This really could end up being a major tragedy. Because understand, Tom Brady has already rewritten parts of the record book. You know, he still has a lot left. It's kind of striking. But understand, Tom Brady, especially if he has Mike Evans on the field, right? Tom Brady is going to put up points. Now, I know I'm saying this after a loss, after a disastrous first quarter where one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league, Pat Mahomes, and Travis Kelce just lit up Tampa Bay, right? Okay. You know, Tampa lost yesterday, all right. And of course, Tampa has had a bunch of injuries, right, folks? I'm just telling you, Tom Brady operates from the pocket. He gets rid of the ball incredibly fast. He makes great decisions. From what I saw, he still has arm strength. Don't just look at the loss from yesterday. Look at Tampa Bay's offensive numbers. Right? Tom Brady, if he wanted, now his personal life might not allow him, but if he wanted, my goodness, this is a guy who could put up ridiculous numbers at least the next 2 years. Understand where we are in football right now. Some excellent receivers who are tired of not having superstar quarterbacks. Guys like Julio Jones, right, are suddenly turning up in Tampa Bay. Right? Tom's so good that superstar receivers want to play with him. Right? And he has superstars on the roster. Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer. Right? Evans already has over 70 career touchdowns, folks. And he's still in his prime. Right? Just to put that in perspective, I believe Tim Brown, Hall of Famer, has 100 career touchdowns. Right? This is a great wide receiver. If you're a wide receiver, you understand playing with Tom Brady is a privilege. Right now, let's just hope Giselle understands that she signed up for being the wife of one of the best quarterbacks ever. Right? I'm still a Montana man. As I said earlier in this video, I believe Aaron Rodgers is the best in the game today. Tom Brady is not far behind. Tampa has legs, especially in their division. That's how I see it. We'll make picks a little bit later in the week. Let me know your thoughts and your conclusions. Let's help other gamblers here. I hope you leave your thoughts and your conclusions in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.